Like, welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinker, and I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder to all the listeners, the show is hosted on the Anchor app, but we're also on all the other major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few. And if you prefer the video format of the show, we are up and running at the Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Like, listen, share, subscribe. We appreciate it all. Drink, what's going on, man?
Man, another day, another dollar, another Saturday, another show. We got to give these people what they want. We got a packed show. I ain't going to hold it up because, we see what they don't. We say what they want. And let's talk some sports, baby. Let's get it.
Episode 42, the Mavericks beat the Knicks. The NFL adds another game, and we take an exclusive look at what just happened with the MLB All-Star Game. We begin with the NCAA Tournament, which is down to the Final Four. Houston won the Midwest region, defeating the surprising Beavers from Oregon State. They'll meet the top seeds from the South and the Baylor Bears, who knocked off Arkansas. Number one, Gonzaga continued their roll through the rest of the region. In the Elite Eight, with a 19-point win over Southern Cal, they'll get another Pac-12 challenger with the 11th-seeded UCLA Bruins, who defeated the top seed Michigan Wolverines 51-49 in the East bracket. All right, Drink, we missed our midweek show, so feel free to give us your thoughts on the regional finals along with your Final Four predictions.
All right. So, last week, I know we went over our Sweet 16 teams and we predicted our Final Four. We went out on a limb. I'm going to say I went 50%. It's probably the best 50% you're going to get because these two teams look destined to be in the Final Four. Two teams I represent, Baylor, Gonzaga. And then the other two brackets, not so much. I went with my boys in Alabama. UCLA took care of that. I went with Syracuse because I just thought that zone was going to be putting people down for the count. Houston took care of that. So here we are. Houston versus Baylor, UCLA versus Gonzaga. That's our Final Four. Let me get into the highest seed remaining, UCLA. Very impressive. Very impressive with what UCLA have done. We have to put some respect on UCLA name to go from the first four to the Final Four. Now, I know if you want to give me pushback and say, if UCLA was so good, why was they in the first four to begin with? Okay, cool, got it. Either way, they did it. They beat Michigan State in the first. This is Michigan State we're talking about. Tom Izzo. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't a run-of-the-mill team. Was it the best season for them? No. But that wasn't a chump team. So kudos to them for being able to go from the first to the Final Four. Boom. Now, this is where the rubber stops. The buck stops right here. Let's keep it real. The buck stops right here. You're playing Gonzaga, the best team in the nation, in the tournament, however you want to put it. 3 players that's probably going to get taken in the lottery in the first 14 picks. 2 was first team, 1 was second team, AP All-American. Listen, team is loaded. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And then in the next game, we got Houston versus Baylor. Baylor, let's keep it real. Baylor is the second best team in the country this year. They're playing like the second best team in the country. They're the second best team in this tournament. Therefore, Houston, listen, well deserved. You're a Final Four team. This means you are one of the elite teams in the nation. I ain't taking that away from you. But the buck stop here for you two. I think Baylor will beat Houston. I think our national championship game will be, Baylor versus Gonzaga. Gonzaga wins that game. It's a dog fight. It happens. I think Gonzaga will blow out UCLA. I just don't. I like what UCLA has done. I just don't think they have enough to slow down Gonzaga. Houston will be a closer game with Baylor, but Baylor will end up pulling that out in the second half of that game, I think. And then Gonzaga will be holding up the trophy when it's all said and done. And before I get off the mic, I just want to say, shout out to my boys. Nate Oates, you did a tremendous job in your second year with the Tide. We appreciate it. We ain't mad at it. We see what we'll get next. Now we're getting better recruits. You got us rolling in the basketball arena just like Nick got us rolling in the football arena. So, that said, shouts out to you. Very proud, very happy to be a Bama fan. Love to see it. And, with all that said, man, I think Gonzaga is going to be our national champions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Gonzaga and Baylor, who I had them in the Final Four as well, really going out on a limb there. But they both those teams look really powerful. Baylor handling their business the way they did against Arkansas, who had a nice run to the Elite Eight themselves. Um, I do think Baylor and Houston, it'll be a competitive game. But I think Baylor just has a little bit too much offensive explosiveness, a little bit more dynamic than Houston is. I think for Houston to stay in it, they'll need to keep it low scoring. They'll want it a more defensive battle, and it may be. But in the end, I think Baylor will make a couple more offensive plays that Houston just probably can't make, and I think Baylor will advance. But also, do got to give I do since you brought them up, I got to send Kelvin Sampson in Houston a thank you card for getting that Syracuse zone out of the tournament. I'm so sick of it. But thank him so much for that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate getting him out of there. But, to the other side, I don't want to undersell what a great run to the Final Four UCLA has had from Michigan State to BYU. They caught a little bit of a break playing Abilene Christian, who got by Texas in the first round. But then Alabama. Alabama ties the game at the end of regulation, and to be able to have the mental toughness to overcome that play, I think it says a lot. I think it says a lot about Mick Cronin, and of course, beating Michigan. The probably throughout the season they were the third best team in the country. I mean, it says a lot about them. But in the end, I think all roads end with Gonzaga. I mean, they're just too good. The stat still stands. They've won every game by double digits except one, and that was a little bit earlier in the season against West Virginia. I think they beat UCLA by double digits. I think Baylor in the championship game, they'll give them a good fight. I think it'll be pretty competitive. But I just don't, I can't imagine Gonzaga losing, and that Baylor team is really good themselves. But between Jalen Suggs and Corey Kispert and Drew Timme, and plus Andrew Nemhard, the list goes on and on. They're too powerful offensively, and they play the proficiency they have offensively. It leads you get caught up in that, and you forget they're pretty solid on the other end too. They're not easy to score upon, but it just time in and time out. I mean, they're good for 80 to 90 points every game, and in the college environment, that's tough to overcome. And I don't think Baylor's going to have to be at its absolute best and hope Gonzaga has a little bit of an off game. But I think Gonzaga, in the end, they'll be your national champion, and they'll beat Baylor in the national title game.
One more thing I wanted to add. I forgot to say this. Hey, shouts out to the NCAA, the committee. You guys did a fantastic job up to this point. We haven't had one game had to get switched around or rescheduled or anything like that due to COVID positive testing. So shouts out to them. This is a very hard thing to contain, but I think they did a fantastic job. They got 4 different arenas in Indianapolis, so you had them all in somewhat of a bubble, but you know what I'm saying, you did it safely. So shouts out to the NCAA, shouts out to the state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis, and just everything that went into making this a success. And shouts out to the NCAA for responding to the criticism of the women's tournament and making it and fixing that wrong as well, and making sure we had a successful women's tournament as well, even though we seen UConn lose to Arizona last night. But shouts out to what they did there as well. So I just want to make sure I give the NCAA men's tournament committee their flowers.